What's going on, everybody? Jorge Aquino coming live to you live and direct right here from my humble abode in the west side of the PHX. I hope everybody's having a fantastic day. Today, as of recording, is February the 17th of the year of our Lord 2023. I'm hanging out in my printer room as we speak, which used to be my office, but then my wife kicked me out of it when she bought this ginormous printer that we have, which is totally cool because she likes it and she uses it for stuff. So it's all good and well. That all being said, it's Tormenting Tarmac time, and this is the podcast where the enthusiast never dies. I have a very, 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 very special guest with me this evening, a person who I happen to owe a massive favor to, and it will be forever ingrained into my brain. But ladies and gentlemen, Brenden Lodge, aka Lodgey Media, up in the building. Lodgey, what's up, my dude?
Man, what an intro. That was crazy. How's it going?
I'm doing good, man. I do my best to try and go ahead and give everybody as bit of a special intro as I possibly can. But you know why though?
Special.
I'm glad. But you know why? Because it's worth it. Because you guys are worth it. Because you guys are taking time out of your day or night to come hang out on me. Unfortunately, me and Lodgey are having to do it on Zoom tonight. The plan was for Lodgey to be at my house this evening, but then Lodgey sold his car, which shout out to the BMW 3 Series, whoever owns it. I hope you take good care of it. It's a great car. And then we were going to go meet up somewhere, but then we just couldn't make it happen, but it's okay. Zoom is exactly what it is made for. That's what it's being used for tonight. So we can go ahead and conference and whatnot. But he is Mr. Don't Miss. If you go ahead and take a look at Lodgey's Instagram account, I mean, Lodgey will tell you that he on occasion misses, but it's very, very, very rarely.
I'm very particular with what I put out. So
yes,
I'm very finicky. I think most people are, but
of course, you always want to go ahead and put out the best content absolutely possible. But Brenden, I would have loved it for you to have been on the photographer roundtable from a few weeks ago, but I purposely went ahead and said, you know what, I want to separate people. Like, that was a group who I think is incredible at what they do, at what their craft is. But then it's also very hard to have 15 people on a podcast simultaneously, True. Right? And so the plan is to go ahead and also, of those people that were on the photography roundtable, is to go ahead and have their own respective episodes. And then people like yourself who are getting a current episode by themselves now, to then have our own photography roundtable later on in the future. So for those of you who are saying, oh, well, why wasn't I on the photography roundtable? I got you. We're going to make it happen. Because that's what TT does, is we rep car culture as best as possible down here in the PHX. That all being said, first of all, thank you so much for being here with me this evening, bro. How are you doing tonight?
That's what I'm doing good. It's another day above ground, still breathing, so can't complain too much. But
I love it,
man. I'm happy to be here. It's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be a great time. So, Brenden basically came to my existence, if you will, a few short months ago, as I continue to discover the greatness of the automotive photography that exists here in the city of Phoenix. He happens to be good pals with a good buddy of mine. Shout out to Jake. I know Jake will be listening, so I appreciate you, Jake. Jake's going to be on the podcast soon as well. He's been on the podcast before, but we're going to do a feature for himself as well. You guys are good homies and whatnot. And all of a sudden I saw your work, and what's great about your work is, just like everybody else's, you have a niche, you have a way to single yourself out, Brenden, and your artistry is second to none, man, because your focus is also entirely different, but the way that you shoot your stuff, the way you use Photoshop, your edits, all in all, man, I call you Mr. Don't Miss for a reason. And so I guess where I want to go ahead and start off is, how long have you been doing photography? Have you been doing it for a while?
Surprisingly, no, actually. It's probably been, I want to say, coming up on 2 years now.
Really?
Yeah, I've been out here I did a year in not high school. I mean, I took a high school class, but I'm not counting that as being in it. And I moved out here probably a year and a half ago, did a year of college before, didn't pick it up until halfway through. So I'd say about 2 years. That sounds about right.
Okay, cool. And what was the motivations behind like you wanting to go ahead and create this type of content and basically the way that you actually portray it now for all of us to see?
The funny thing is I actually never wanted to do automotive photography. It started
Mm,
with a graphic design class in my high school where I would use like photo manipulation and stuff like that. But it kind of turned into, instead of using other people's pictures to photo manipulate, going out and taking my own pictures. And then that kind of went down its own rabbit hole. And then I got my first car. I had a 328 F30 BMW, and I wanted to start taking pictures of that. And it kind of went to there, and then to the high school parking lots, and then car meets, and then got my
right.
first guy to shoot with me out here. And then it just kind of all blew up. And that one guy who led to another, who led to another, and here we are.
Here
Now
you
it's
are.
all
Now
car
you
photography.
now it's all car photography. Now you get to go ahead and add media behind your behind your
Bingo.
nickname and stuff like that. I love that. You mentioned the photo manipulation and you mentioned the graphic design there. Now I've talked about it on several times on this podcast, and now that the man is here, I'm gonna acknowledge it. A couple of months ago, I think back in October, November, we debuted what is the current logo, the current iteration of our logo for Tormenting Tarmac, um, which was brought on by a very cool idea by Brenden himself. Brenden reaches out to me. He's like, "Hey, man," because basically, let it be known right now, I knew that this was going to happen. I knew that people were going to realize that I do talk about my old Z32 a lot. Which,
It's
to
okay.
be
It's
fair,
okay.
I missed that car, dude, and
We
I
all we
lost
all
it in a
have the one
terrible
car.
time. I lost
It's
it
okay.
in a terrible way. It's been, by the way, it's been 10 years since I lost that car. February
Oh,
1st, my wife's birthday. It's been 10 years since I lost that car, but it's okay. I'm done crying about it for the most part, even though my wife still teases me to this day. But um, I talk about the Z32 all the time. It's one of my favorite sports cars of all time. I shouldn't say Z32. Let me go ahead and be clear. The Nissan 300ZX, which
yeah.
is the second generation of the 300ZX. The Z31 is the first one. I had what I believe to be the much better looking one, and I talk about it constantly, and whatnot. And so one day, Lodgey reaches out to me via DM. We've already been following each other for a few weeks. I'm already admiring all his work and stuff like that. But he's like, "Hey, man, I got a really good idea that I think you'll really love. Like, let me go ahead and make you a logo." And I was like, "Cool, bro. How much do I owe you?" Lodgey's like, "I got you, man. Just pay it forward." I was like, "Bet," basically. And Lodgey, in like less than maybe 48 hours, has this very cool, like, just photo manipulated, very cool graphic design of a Z32 just blasting through the forest and stuff like that. And it looks great. And to this day, it's obviously being used as our current logo. And from that moment on, I realized this dude is really talented. More importantly, that dude is a real homie. And yeah, okay. But also another thing, Lodgy and I have yet to meet in person.
Yeah, it's just how it's going, but
That's
we're
and
rolling with
that's
it.
we're
We're
rolling
rolling
with
with
it,
it.
and that's what's so great about car culture, though, man. And let me just be clear, because like you have you can meet all these other car enthusiasts that are on in different parts of the country, different parts of the world, and y'all can go ahead and be super tight with one another and
100%.
never meet each other.
100%.
It's very funny. You finally go to like Car Week, or you go to Pebble, or you go to like Texas 2K, and your friends happen to go ahead and be finally there, and you finally like say, "Oh, I'm going to meet you there," and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
it's what you do. It's
It's the
really
coolest
interesting.
thing. It's so
It
weird to
is
like explain it though to people. Like, how are you friends with somebody in a whole nother state and you've never even met them? You're like, I don't know. We're just tight like that. Like,
just tight like that. Yeah. And that is the positive of the social media aspect, Logi. That's what I at least believe, is like,
yeah,
that's when you can go ahead and use social media to admire somebody's work, and all of a sudden they admire yours, and you all of a sudden you guys become homies, and all that good stuff. But so you've been doing photography now for a couple of years. One person led to another. But your car enthusiasm, though, is that only 2 years old, or does that go way, way back?
that goes back to basically as far as I can remember. I mean, I
Okay.
can thank my mom for a majority of my love for cars and stuff like that, and even my our landlord back in California. Some of my friends had a Lamborghini Countach. Like that was the first Lamborghini I ever got to ride in. That might make some people jealous, but I didn't know
Just a
what it
little
was
bit.
at the time until looking back at it. I was like, damn, like that
Yeah.
was a Countach. Like,
Yeah.
our landlord gave me a ride in his Ferrari one day. Like, I lived super close to Laguna Seca, so we would go to Laguna Seca all the time and watch the
Right.
races. And then Hot Wheels were a big play in that, and Need for Speed is probably where I got like my love for modifying cars and
Yeah.
other stuff like that. Most Wanted is the one, to be exact. That's like my love that game. But
I gotcha.
yeah,
No, Most Wanted is a good one. I'm a little older than you, obviously, but I
yeah,
can still appreciate Need for Speed for what it is. The Need for Speed game that was my generation was Need for Need for Speed 2 Hot Pursuit, if I'm not mistaken, which
I
actually
love
has,
that's my second favorite.
yeah, and it's got I believe the yellow Murcielago on the cover, if I'm not mistaken. The yellow Mercy. Am I
In
getting that
Hot
right?
Pursuit, I thought it was an orange RX-7. It's like a top-down shot as Hot Pursuit.
Is it? Wait, hold on. Maybe I'm getting my Need for Speeds confused. Maybe it just
Maybe.
might be Need for Speed 2.
Yeah,
It
I don't
might
know.
be just
There's
Need for
so many
Speed
of
2.
them. It was so
Yeah.
long ago, but
Now it's bothering me. I'm gonna go ahead and look it up. Hang on for 1 second as we do this. Need for Speed 2. Let's see.
this is like I was playing these on like my PlayStation 3 and
You're
like the
telling me,
little, even
brother.
the mobile games, dude. I was playing it on my dad's phone because I didn't even have a phone yet.
So it is Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2. Is the yellow Mercy right there. Yeah, that's the one. You
Oh,
see it?
okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
now I'm
I'm
wondering
thinking
now I'm
about the newer
curious.
one then.
Yes. Oh, okay. So yeah, let me be very clear. This is the 2002 edition. So the one that you
Got
might
it.
be thinking about might be
Is
the
newer.
newer generation of the Need for Speeds and
Got
whatnot.
it.
And
Got it.
then
Got it.
when also when I was like 13 years old, that's when Underground first released. Need for
Yep.
Speed Underground 1, which came, I believe, right after Hot Pursuit 2. It was weird. They numbered their games very
They're
oddly because there was a
all over
Need
the
for Speed
place.
3 that had a Diablo that was the older game from like 1998 or something like that, which is, can you believe that 98 is already 25 years?
I
That's
don't. I
crazy.
wasn't even born yet. There.
I'm telling you, man, I was 8 years old in 98. That's what I'm saying. I forget old. I feel old as hell. I was telling, I forget who I was talking to, one of my buddies, and I did the photography roundtable with a bunch of the crew, Cody, Alex, and Riley and AJ and Johnny. And like the person that was closest to my age may have been Riley. And shout out to Riley, shout out to Otto Ambrosia. Like, you
Love
getting
him
married, that's my
too.
guy. But I think he was the closest to me in age, and there was like a bit of an age gap between me and Riley, and I was like, I felt like a grandfather at that table, bro. I really did.
Grandfather with all your photography
With all
children
my
around.
photography grandchildren and stuff
Yeah,
like
there
that.
it
It's like,
is.
can
There it
you
is.
tell me how the shutter goes? Like, click, click, click. That's exactly how
What do
I
you
felt.
mean it doesn't need to get processed?
What do you mean you only do 40 miles an hour on a good roller? You guys look like you're flying, acting like a Karen. But that all being said, man, so your landlord and stuff like that, rolling you around in a Countach when you were a little kid in Laguna Seca, like that's really what got the automotive enthusiast out of you.
Yeah, I mean, ever since, I mean, my mom has always had a thing for fast cars and nice cars too. So
Shout out to
just,
Mrs. Lodgey.
oh, dude, she's awesome. I can thank her for a lot of the stuff that goes on in my life now. But yeah, even taking like some cars and coffees that were out there
Mm,
on occasions, but I mean, a majority of like the stuff that I do now or like now has come from me, but I can guarantee it stems back to like the video games or the older stuff that
mhm.
kind of like sprouted that, like, oh, you're gonna be a car kid when you grow up. And
For sure. Now, what's really interesting, man, is, and I've kind of hinted at this a little bit because I've said that you have a particular niche and a particular style. A lot of the photographers in our city, which by the way are incredibly talented, but
amazing.
they focus on their supercars, the hypercars, the sports cars and whatnot. By the way, that's not to say that you don't focus on that. I'm sure you do, but
Yeah.
you also, and I know that you told me that you wanted me to bring this up because you wanted to go ahead and bring acknowledgement to this sector of the car culture and whatnot. But you're really into, of course, I'm into JDMs just as much as anybody else is, and a lot of people are into JDMs, but in particular, Lodgey's into like slam stuff,
Yeah.
stands and whatnot. So what brought you the passion for those particular types of cars? Because that to me is very interesting.
I'm still gonna go back to my video game answer. I mean,
Yeah.
playing like video games and stuff like that. It's been a thing about customizing and having like I guess an own identity or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. I've always thought as a car being an extension of who the owner is. So being able
Completely
to see
agree.
people take a car and go two different ways with it. Somebody's super colorful with a crazy wrap or something, and then somebody's super like murdered out. I think it has a lot to say about somebody who they are
Mm,
and a way how they can express themselves, like how people do like music and stuff like that or art.
yeah.
I see that and I was like, that's kind of cool. So it's something I've always just taken inspo from growing up, and I was like, I want to meet people who have these cars, and here we are shooting them now. So
I gotcha.
not to say like I don't shoot supercars. I mean, they're few and far between, but I'd say a majority of the cars are definitely lowered or enhanced and
Mm.
modified in some way or another.
Now, do you feel like within your photography, now that you continue to grow within the space, like is that are you still more seeking out those cars, or are they now starting to come and seek you because you are one of those photographers in the city that kind of is that is your niche?
I mean, it kind of depends. I mean, it's kind of a gray area. Sometimes there's a cool car where it's like, yeah, like I just need to shoot like that car.
Sure.
That thing is sick. But then there's other times like you want to like sit back and see who comes to you. And I've met a lot of people who have actually like come to me, and
It's beautiful.
it's cool to see like that people hit you up asking for whatever it is. Like, oh, I'm doing a new rap. Can you come in and um, like shoot the reveal or something like that? And it's just cool to see. So
I love that, man. By the way, we have a mutual friend on top of that that recently was on the podcast, and they know I got a lot of love for them. So shout out to Throttled Out.
I love
Um,
them.
yeah, they are my peeps forever and ever. By the way, Annie, if you're listening to this podcast, still waiting for that podcast to drop. Here we go, baby. Let's make it happen. But uh, they you did a really great set for her.
The
That
930.
with the 930 and the 992, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Um,
I love that set. To this day, I think that's probably one of my favorites that I've done.
I'm gonna agree with you a hundred
Yeah.
percent. And by the way, there's so much other stuff that like I see on your page, and I actually continue to scroll back from before I even started following you, and I study it and I view it, and I'm just like, first of all, the progression is incredible, but then just like this other stuff that you've shot in the past, that I'm just like, oh man, I clearly got late to the game when it comes to Lodgey, right? But what was, I guess, the idea behind that respective set? Because I talked a little about a little bit about it with Annie and Dakota, but I'm curious to know from your artistic vision and whatnot. You know, you have this area where you were located in like more northern central Arizona, and you've got a Guards Red 930, you have a GT Silver 992. You know, what is like the mind process behind Lodgey where he's thinking this is how I'm going to make this shot work?
Well, originally I had, and I'll take Jake as an example because he
Mm.
shot actually Annie's Ford GT in the same location. I'm not mistaken.
Oh,
He did.
nice.
I think. Don't hold me to that. I think he did. But I mean, we got super lucky too. But it was just kind of like Annie hitting me up and was like, "Hey, like we should do something." I was like, "Okay, cool. Like I'll be up there," and made a day trip out of it. And we didn't really have a set location. I got there super early, and so I was trying to find a spot, and we ended up finding this area and decided to send it. We got lucky with some cloud coverage, and it was just everything just worked. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
perfect shading. There was the colors matched. Like it wasn't like putting a purple car somewhere, right? Like it just fit. And there's some other photographers that I took inspiration from with that. Like I've been doing a lot more like landscape stuff.
Mm-hmm.
One of them being, it's the one where it's like the tree is like in the top left, kind of like it's a top down. I don't know if that makes any sense. Um,
Going on
I
to
th-
Lodgey.media's Instagram account right now as
it's
we make it happen.
the fourth slide in that set.
Okay.
I had taken inspiration from a photographer. His name's 2319, and he does a lot of like landscape shots and has stuff in the foreground. And that was just kind of the idea. Is I wanted to focus more on the details and just
Oh,
try to
you're talking
capture.
about the 930 by itself, right?
Yeah. Just the 930.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The idea is just show off the car. Like, it's just a gorgeous car. Like, how can I show this car off in a way that like everything just works together, where it's not too much car or too much background, and it just that was the idea behind. And I feel like that's with most pictures, is you don't want to show too much, and you just want an equal composition.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean it, especially with the weather, we got super lucky that day. But
I think
looking
what
at
really,
it, so
yeah, I mean, I look at it all the time because when we went ahead and had Annie and Dakota on the podcast a few weeks back, I reached out to you and I was like, hey, Lodgey, yo, give me a couple stills so I can go ahead and use it for the Instagram post.
yeah,
And of course, you went ahead and sent me stills from that shoot, which I appreciate, by the way.
no
Um,
worries.
but what I really love about that set in particular, like you really make the red pop on the guards red, like that's not really a question. It's everything around it. It's the clarity of the trees. You talked about like there's a particular tree shot where it's kind of like right in the middle of the road, and then
Yeah,
there's like the trees to, if you're looking at the picture, you're looking towards the left of it, and then the crispness of the green is like just so pretty, and then like the the rocks to the right hand side,
mhm.
like there's this perfect tan that I don't know how you made the color like so nice, dude. But I look at that and I'm just like, it's the rocks for me, man. It's not even the 930. No disrespect
I
to Annie, to
no,
Annie
no,
on that,
no,
by the way.
not at all. I don't know. It was kind of like, I'm always, when I edit pictures and stuff like that, is
Right.
I have to edit it once, and if I look at it like even more, like I will start fine tune picking at it. Like, once I get it to a point where I like it, I have to just
Hmm.
throw it into a folder and just be like, okay, I'm not looking at that, or I will sit on this picture for literally a year. Ask me, because I've done it before, where I just did not post a set because I have stared at it for way too long. But
Yeah.
it was just kind of a, like I said, the weather played perfect into that. Like, the sun was coming down on the top, and
Hmm.
I don't, I hate, I don't want to oversaturate pictures. Like, I don't want anything to look fake. I'd say my style is very, it looks just very natural. So that's what
Sure.
I was trying to think, is how can I get this where you can still get the color in the rocks, you could still get the color in the trees, still get the color in the car, without it looking like I just took the vibrance or saturation slider and cranked it. So that's kind of what we get with this, is very simple. I don't try to overdo it. Obviously, I do other stuff where I intentionally overdo it, but
Yeah.
especially with this car, since it was so good, I think I even added like a little bit of grain, since with like older cars I try to like make it look and fit like the theme of what the car actually is. So
Absolutely. Well, it was just it looked like that 930 was meant to be right exactly there. And I know that sounds
100%.
very generic. It's a very generic thing to go ahead and say about a picture. It's like, oh, that car looks like it belongs there. Well, no
It
kidding.
did. It
Obviously,
did.
it's a car. It deserves to be on the road. But like, there's something in particular when you're driving a sports car. Let's use a 911 for example.
Yeah.
Where's your favorite place to go ahead and drive it? Well, but other than the racetrack, you want to go ahead and drive in the mountains.
Yeah.
That's what you want to do. And like, there's no rollers, by the way, in that set, if I'm not mistaken. There
There
might
is.
there might
It's the
there
very, very
the
last
very
one.
last one. Yeah. So there's one roller. There's one roller, right?
Yeah.
But and by the way, sick roller. Yes, there it is. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right. But it's the planted pictures, it's the stills that to me garner the most attention, which is
Yeah.
weird because the car in motion is what basically where it's at its best, because
Yeah.
it's
That's
moving,
what
it's
you
doing what
want
it's
it.
supposed
Yeah.
to be doing. And yet somehow, some way, you presented an elegance to that car, you presented an elegance to that location, which to me, it was very different from your normal type of visions that you do. We talked about a Jetta earlier, but I think before I
Yeah.
started recording,
Yeah.
um, that actually happens to be one of my other favorite sets that you've done,
Really.
which is hilarious because it's a Jetta. It's
Yeah.
no disrespect to any Jetta owners when I say this, okay? But I mean, it's a Volkswagen Jetta.
Yeah.
It's a very generic German car. It's the Toyota Camry of Germany. That's like, okay, that's just the way it
I
is.
can agree with that. Yeah.
You know, yet somehow, some way, Lodgey over here can go ahead and make it be dope as all hell. Now, to be fair, this particular Jetta it is a stance car, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he is lowered. He's on coilovers, if
He's
I'm
on
not mistaken.
coilovers. So like that in and of itself, it's like, oh, okay, that's not your basic Jetta, but then you add the Lodgey touch to it. And like that set to me is what represents you, where you add the motion to it, the graphics and everything like that. So you talked about like that's what you are focused on in school and whatnot. So when you decided to go ahead and do this, and maybe, and I apologize if I asked you this before, but maybe you can go into it a little bit deeper. Like when you said, I want to go ahead and add my graphic design to my own photographs and stuff like that, was there a reason behind it?
Yeah, there was actually. So the main idea was, let's take car shows for an instance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is you go to a car show, everybody's going to get the same picture.
Mm-hmm.
There's always going to be people
Facts.
in the there's always going to be people in the background. There's always going to be a car poking around in the corner. Like there's always going to be something that you can tell that somebody has the same picture as you. So the idea behind that was to take my graphic design and use it in a way that nobody would have the same picture as me. Completely change the background, take out cars, take out all the people, make it look like it was a private shoot.
Right.
Let's take the Mercedes, the most recent Mercedes shoot.
The SLC,
Is
right.
that was taken at the Fountain Hills show,
Yeah,
Conkers.
the Concourse at the Hills. Yep.
And I mean, you could see the raw edit. I've seen other people posting their pictures on it. Great pictures, but you look at it and you see in the first slide, there's a totally different background.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't know unless I showed you the raw. At least I think I'm pretty confident in my work that I'd say that you shouldn't be able to tell. But that was the main idea, is to get pictures and be able to do stuff that people won't be able to replicate with just like their camera or whatever it is. So I would have something different than them.
Oh, that's so cool. See, like that's what I love talking to you guys about. I wonder to myself sometimes if I over saturate this podcast by having a different photographer all the time and stuff like that. But you know what? I think first of all, that makes this podcast unique because of what we're featuring, but it also makes it unique in the sense of every photographer does something different. And
100%.
it is so, so cool.
That's the joy
So
of photography.
yeah, and it's not just the joy of photography, but in our case, living in the place that we live in, that's what makes us be able to appreciate everybody else's work around us. Is
Yeah.
that you can go ahead and see, Lodgey does this, Jake does that, KRC does this, Automotive Alex does that, Cody does this, AJ does that, Riley does this, and by the way, there's a
All of them are
ton more
different.
out there. All of them.
Yeah.
Johnny does that, and all these people, and it's just it's really mesmerizing to see that, and it's such a it's a treat to the eyes. It's a treat, and then I don't know, maybe I'm weird because I'm becoming more obsessed with photography because of you guys, so thanks for that, guys.
You're
um
welcome.
but I'm becoming more and more of an enthusiast of it, and I guess it really makes me think. You guys' pictures make me think, because like I try to go ahead and put myself in the mindset of like, what were they thinking when they were going ahead and trying to envision whatever they were shooting, in particular when it's absolutely fire, you know like that. And I say that because if I was a regular photographer that I was trying to go ahead and make something look cool, and then if it came out looking like shit, then I'd try to go ahead and be like, what was he thinking to make that picture look absolutely terrible, right?
It's funny though, because I mean, I'll be walking through like places or just doing like daily stuff, and in my head I'll be like, a car would look sick there, and my friends will be like, what the fuck are you talking? Sorry, I don't know if I cuss.
You're good, go
Sorry.
ahead.
I was like, what? Well, like what are you thinking about, right? And it's like, I don't know, it's just the way that I think. I'm like, a slammed Camry would look sick there, or whatever it is, right?
Mhm.
Like that's just how I guess my mind is wired, and I'm sure everybody else has their different take on whatever it is they're doing. You got Riley doing those crazy, I don't even know what to call it, compositions
Mhm.
with the cars coming in, and he's beyond
He
crazy.
is such a beast. He is. Shout
Yeah,
out to Riley. Yeah.
that's crazy. But yeah,
Yeah.
everybody just has their own gearing, I guess is the word
Yeah.
for it.
And it's truly unbelievable to watch every single time. Some people, they like to go ahead and take a picture exactly of the moment. Like I remember Cody talking about that a couple of weeks back, and I was like, yeah, I know what you mean, Cody. I know exactly what you mean. And the colorfulness of what Alex likes to put out, which is so pretty.
Yeah.
And then, Caitlin tries to make sure that she never has a bad sky in hers,
Yeah.
which is very, very cool. And not only do I get the understanding of the vision, but I also get the understanding of whatever story it is that you guys are trying to tell visually. And that's what makes automotive photography, to me, the greatness that it happens to be. Right. So now, Lodgey, I will say
Yes.
this. You did go out to Cali. You went
I
ahead and
did.
spent about a few days there,
Yep. The weekend.
right? How was it? First of all, how's Cali doing?
It was cold. It's
Yeah,
really
a little
cold.
nippy. Where were you at? Just outside of LA, right?
I was staying in my friend's house in Huntington Beach. So
Oh, okay. So that's
around,
Orange County. Yeah,
yeah,
OC.
yeah,
Yeah, SoCal.
yeah.
How you went out there, and I know that you had different appointments set up for all your shoots and stuff like that. Um, like were those people that you knew from beforehand, or was that also new clients that are like seeing your work that are saying, "Hey, bro, you need to come out to Cali and you need to shoot my car"?
There was a couple people that I had gone out there to shows before and have met at shows and just kind of
Mm,
like word of mouth and got to know them through that. But there was one guy in particular who actually saw one of my sets on his explore page and just happened that I was going out there and he was in the area. Um, so I guess it's kind of a mix of both. I knew a couple people. One friend or one of the guys, he brought one of his friends out. One of the guys was from the Explore page. Couple were just outstanding friends that I've had prior to going out there. But yeah, it's a little mix of everything.
I gotcha. So, you know, some of the car culture out there. I don't know. I take it that you got a chance to go ahead and be able to experience it, and not to mention you did grow up in Cali, and I'm curious to get your thoughts of how you feel California car culture is different, or if there's any similarities to what we do here, maybe in Phoenix or Arizona as a whole, because even Tucson has its own type of car culture sometimes and whatnot. So I'm curious to get your thoughts on that.
I think, and some people might come for me with this, but I think California is a lot crazier. Like it's
Gotcha.
a lot more like rowdy, if you will. I think, and people hate these people, myself included, the takeover culture over there and what they're doing to the car
Well,
scene
they
is
make us look bad, big time.
brutal, right?
Yeah.
But the people that are actually out there, like, yeah, we have some crazy cars like the Sally Special and guys with Bugattis left, right, and center out here, right? But also in LA, I was just driving going somewhere and there's just a casual SVJ just driving down the street. It was like,
Yeah.
okay, like that's cool. Last time I was down there, I was driving down the PCH and there's a Chiron coming at me the other way. There's
Mm-hmm.
no shows. It was just casual,
Just
right?
driving. They're daily driving their Chiron
Yeah,
because that's because
as
that's
one
normal.
should. Yeah, I would too, right? But I mean, also you could tell people they don't want to do as much though because Cali restrictions out there are
Mm-hmm.
that we're very blessed in the way that we have
Sure.
very
Well, we're
lenient
definitely
cops.
we definitely still have, in a way, as much as sometimes Phoenix's finest can go ahead and annoy me with
Oh, 100%.
pulling us over and stuff like that. Arizona still is very much the wild wild west in
Yeah.
a way, and for that I can actually appreciate it in a
Yeah.
way. You know.
Yeah, it's super cool though. I mean, I'm obviously talking on behalf of the stance scene and stuff like that and
Mhm.
modified cars, per se, more than exotics and stuff like that. But I mean, I'd say the quality of cars, I mean, granted, I live out here and I see the same cars every single show and stuff like that. So I mean, going to a different place and seeing that kind of car culture, it's cool to see what other people are doing. And I was even showing my mom some of the cars and she was like, "Oh, that looks like a Cali car." Like I could see that just but it's the same but very different at the same time. That's very clashing, but that's just how it is. I mean, it's going to be like that anywhere. Like I feel like so.
Yeah. Now you went ahead and there was a set that you dropped today. And by the way, there's another set that I want to go ahead and talk to you about because I happen to love it, and I forgot that you had dropped it. And it also is you talked about purple cars. We're gonna go ahead and talk into about purple cars in a second because there are two sets of two different purple cars that you have relatively recent that I'd actually like to talk to you about because
Yep.
I want to see how hard it actually is to try and go ahead and get something to go along with that. But one of the stance cars that you did was the I think Lexus ES, the white one.
It was an IS 350, the new one.
IS 350. Oh, dude.
Yeah,
Okay, I see that now. It's the rear end that kind of like throws me
it
off for
messes
about a
you up.
second.
I
Yeah.
love the rear end on that car
Oh, it looks
so
bananas.
much.
It looks so
It's
good.
so good.
Yeah, like
The headlights, everything about that car is just screams like
yeah,
luxury sports car to me.
it does. And so now I'm looking at the third shot here, and it's you know, it's on bags, cars all the way lowered. You've got
Yep.
the marina basically right behind you.
Yep.
That looks like it could be just a painting as opposed to an actual shot. Like how much of that was like a real like you fully going Lodgey style edit as opposed to what's real and what's added in type stuff, if you don't mind me asking.
You'd
We're
be
kind of going a little
surprised.
bit behind the scenes, which is kind of cool.
You'd be surprised. A lot of it actually was just bringing up the exposure a tad, taking up some, putting some like shadow, taking the shadows out of the front grille. But a majority of it was like, I didn't really do much to it. Like that was just naturally a beautiful location.
It is, and it's a naturally a beautiful picture, honestly, because it's so good. Like even the tree in the water, it looks like it was added in, but like it's just so good.
I think the
It's
only thing I
so
might
good.
have added it in was just like a little sunburst coming in from where the sun was setting. But other than that, it's just very, very minimal. I want that's how like I would describe like what I do is it's all very minimal, is simplistic. Like that's exactly how I saw it on location. And that's how I wanted my camera to pick that up. Like obviously I'm gonna underexpose it to bring out the detail in the sky and stuff like that. But a majority of that is on location. Looking at that, I was like, yep, that's how it's gonna look in camera.
Yeah,
So
man, I absolutely love that shot. I think it's really, really beautiful. And I know that there's more shots coming. So I don't want to go
100%.
ahead and say anything. I don't want to go ahead and blow up your spot. Although this is probably going to go ahead and drop after a couple of
After,
your sets have dropped. So
yeah,
um
you could talk about some of them.
yeah, what else you got coming then from that respective
There's,
shoot?
well,
What
I
do you
could at
got that's so
least, I
fun?
could tell you like what the cars are. I think I sent you a bagged Corolla hatch next to the
You
beach,
did the light blue one,
the
absolute
light blue one.
fire. I
That'll
hope that
probably
dude
drop
enjoys that
next.
portrait, by the way.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Um, what else we got here? We got the DDE Supra. I've shot with him before. Found a really good on the beach location. We were able to legally drive onto the beach for that. Um, couple FRSs, a Genesis. What else is there? I already dropped the Thunderbird. Yeah, I mean, they're all just slammed cars. Like they're all,
Man.
there's a bagged M3 in there. Like all cars that just fit right up my alley. So
So that the Thunderbird is not something that I would have expected from you and whatnot,
yeah,
considering, yeah.
that is actually the guy who I stayed with in Cali. We were supposed to go golfing that morning, funny enough, and something came up, and he's like, "You want to go shoot our Thunderbird?" And I was like, "All right, bet." So we woke up at the crack of dawn, went to the beach to go scout for actually the blue Corolla. He was my test shoot for that, and yeah, here we are shooting a Thunderbird now. So that wasn't even planned when I went out there, but happy that we got that in too.
Yeah, no, I think that mid to early 60s Thunderbirds, I think are such an underrated look within the car community in particular, because they're not sports cars, they're not muscle cars, they're just like roadsters. They're
Yeah.
they're cruisers. And I remember actually a few weeks ago, myself and Derek, when we went ahead and went out for the drive in the 720, we saw a red Thunderbird coming at us the other way. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, you forget how underrated looking those Thunderbirds could be.
They're gorgeous.
Yeah, they're
I
absolute
mean, just
stunners.
driving, because we are driving down the PCH, and I know we were talking a minute ago about like matching up a location to a car and stuff like that. I would say the Thunderbird is like a PCH car. It was 6:30 in the morning, sun just coming up, and you're mobbing down the PCH in this old Thunderbird, like, and the blue interior, like it just it felt like a movie almost. Like it was just super cool.
Oh, I love that, dude. Well, I guess you know what? Yeah, here's a question for you, Lodgey. I'm curious to know. What is your dream shoot?
Ooh. Um, I mean, obviously, I love stance cars,
Mhm.
and there's one in particular. I don't know where I would shoot them, but it's dead on Alex's bagged LC 500.
Okay.
I just love Lexus. I love cars that are slammed on
LC
the ground
500s go hard
hard.
though.
Yeah.
Love those cars.
So I think that would be up there. Obviously, I would love to shoot the biggest and baddest hypercar out there too. Like I've
Yeah.
always wanted to shoot a Bugatti too, but I don't know. Some in the stance world of things, I think an LC 500 is up there pretty high on my list.
Gotcha. Is it, do you have any idea of where you'd like to try and shoot it? Like, where do you think that car?
Somewhere, it depends on the color. I mean, Alex's is white, but I've seen some red ones and stuff like that. So it would really just depend on the color of the car. But I mean, where I shot the rollers for the Lexus that I just dropped, I mean, that was perfect.
Yeah.
Somewhere green and vibrant and with a pretty sunset is probably ideal. I just like it. It also depends on what state I'm shooting in. Like everything,
Sure.
I take a bunch of things into account. I was in Cali, so I knew I wanted to shoot beaches out there. So if I was in like Utah, I'd probably want to do something with the canyons or whatever it is in the
I gotcha.
background. I'm in Vegas, I want to go shoot on the salt flats or whatever it
So
is.
let's say Lodgey is, let's say you're like in Vermont, up in the forest, up in the Northeast, right? Like
Okay.
Vermont, Maine, that sort of stuff. Like, if you ever watched Super Troopers, remember that scene when the night when the 9/11 is being chased by the troopers?
Yeah, I think
Like
so.
that's perfect, brilliant setting right behind it and whatnot of a forest. Like,
Yeah.
if Lodgey gets an opportunity to go ahead and shoot out there any car he wants at any point in time, what are you needing and what's the idea on it? And by the way, for anybody that's listening to this, this is going to be copywritten, so you cannot steal this idea from Lodgey. Damn it, we will come and hunt you down and whoop your ass.
Give me give me like a SVJ or something murdered out and just go for a
Really?
super dark aesthetic. I've always
Oh, I
liked
love that.
darker kind of styles,
Yeah,
which is funny because a lot of the stuff that I've posted lately have been super bright and
super
vibrant.
bright and colorful. Yeah.
I love super dark and moody kind of stuff. So I think something like super like scary or like menacing is the word for it
Mhm.
would, and then just kill all, like not kill the color, but like just make it look like a kind of like a horror movie kind of thing, right?
Sure.
Like just
Well,
something lurking in the shadows kind of.
sounds like Lodgy's got his Halloween idea already set up for 2023. I kind of
Going up
love
to
that.
Vermont for it.
Let's do it, dude. Absolutely. Now I want to go back to a couple of the sets that you have that you dropped over the last couple of months. You talked about purple, so I'm going to go ahead and bring these up right now because recently you
There's a
did.
lot of purple.
There is a lot of purple. Um, shout out to Autumn, ZL1
Yes,
babe. I know that you went ahead and recently did her Camaro ZL1,
I did.
and it's a very entertaining wrap that she has. She's got the
Oh,
purple
it's
mixed in
super
with the
cool.
black. It's actually quite cool. And you did a very cool shoot with her, and I appreciate it very much. Um, so you talk about purple being so hard, yet you make it look so easy, brother. So what the heck?
It
What gives
is.
here? It's not
I
even fair, bro.
hate shooting purple cars, which is funny, like you said, but it's just the way. I mean, I'm looking at the Camaro, and you can kind of see it in the front, like especially if you shoot it during the day, light hits it, and then the purple turns blue.
Hmm.
And nothing against Autumn or anything like that, but she's also very particular with her shades of purple.
Hmm.
She doesn't like when, like, let's say Jake and I shoot the car and my purple's slightly off. So that's also another thing, is trying to stay true to the actual color. Cause like,
I like that. I can
you
appreciate
know what I
that.
mean?
Mhm.
It's just one of those cars that's, or that color that's just super hard. I love the car. I love the color. It's just, yeah, it's hard to replicate across a board of a bunch of other people too. So that was also another thing, is looking at her page and trying to figure out how, let's say, Jake shoots it. Like having a picture of Jake's picture up on, how many times can I say picture in a sentence? Having having
Let's go
Jake's
for the record, baby. Let's do it.
having Jake's picture up on, and I'm like editing my picture, right?
Yeah.
Um, and trying to compare styles and stuff like that to try to make it still true to me, but still honor um, my client's vision, is how
Right.
I'm going to phrase that.
No,
So
I like that though. But you know what? This is where you really like. This is where you show your brilliance to me, and Jake too, by the way, and anybody else who shot this particular car, because this is not an easy car to shoot
not at all.
because there's a literally two different colors happening simultaneously that in reality you would think wouldn't contrast very well. You've got let it be known right now. If you look at it, please, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and give her a shout out because I'm actually a really big fan of this car. And
Oh, it's
if she
awesome.
ever listens, I would love to have her on the podcast. I really would, because I think she's doing marvelous things here in the city, and I can appreciate that. So, Autumn, if you're listening, you're welcome to TT anytime. But this is also a really bad Camaro. Like, it is really dope. It's a very cool 6th gen ZL1, and the purple is really dark, very
Dark,
rich
very
purple. We're
dark.
talking like full on grape juice here. And then, she's got the shaker hood black. The accents are all black, just like a ZL1 would be. But then the entire second half of the car, from the after the
Middle of
door,
the door. Yeah.
yeah, it's black. And then you got the black wheels and everything like that. So like the purple and the black, although in reality it's a very good match, I'm not 100% sure if it's very easy to go ahead and make look as great as it should in a picture. Yet somehow, some way, you and Jake excel in that, and that's really remarkable to me.
I'd still say like somebody's gonna look at it and be like, "Oh yeah, what are you talking about? Like, I could go do that, right?" But it's no
I'd
shade
like
to
to see them
anybody.
try.
Yeah, it's not that easy, right? Like I
Mhm.
said earlier, like you shoot it in the middle of the day, and I could show you the raw pictures of it, and half the car's like blue, like because just how the light hits it and stuff like that. So it's trying to figure out that color, and since it is so deep and dark blue, or not blue, purple, it's yeah, it's just hard. It's which is also, I like a challenge. So
Right.
I had a great time shooting this car, and I'm very happy with how it turned out.
Mm.
But
Now, here's another set that I want to focus on, because this one, like, everything matched up perfectly, because of like the wheels and the way that you were able to get this roller in particular. And I'm talking about Curb Your Enthusiasm's R8.
yes, yes, yes.
Yes. Now that's Lodgey right there to me. In particular,
Yeah,
that first shot. You know what I mean?
yep.
Like, you
That's the
see
one.
that and you're like, yep, that's Brenden. That's
Yeah.
Brenden. You gotta love it. Now, what I really love about this here, and I'm looking at it, Brenden, is you know, by the way, shout out to Curb Your Enthusiasm. Hopefully we can go ahead and collab soon too. It's just great dude. I really
Awesome guy.
appreciate what he's doing. Um, but he's got is that gold or bronze? That's gold wheels, right?
It's like a bronze. I
Is it a
think it's
bronze?
bronze.
Like a
Yeah,
bronze copper. You're
it's
right. It's more like a bronze
I made
copper.
it a
You're right.
little bit lighter in
Mm,
post. It's a bronze. It's definitely a bronze.
I gotcha. But I'm looking at it, and just the way that the light is hitting it from the back behind the trees, and then the the lanes work perfectly here. Usually I would be like, yo, you need to get rid of that. But no, everything just goes, it flows so well, in particular that first picture. And then you move into the second one, where you have this clear rear end shot that's just so pretty. And then the stills that are right there at the park, I think, are absolutely excellent. And basically, the way that you were able to capture this car, which is so great, because there's other of our fellow photography fans who have also shot that particular car, who have
Yep.
also been able to go ahead and put their own unique spin on it, and I appreciate it. But since we're talking about Lodgey here, what was your focus when he brought out his R8 to say, "Hey, bro, shoot my car, make it look beautiful like it is."
Well, originally it was he was getting new wheels. We had been talking about a shoot for months.
That's right.
And
That's he's got Variant wheels, if I'm not mistaken. Shout
yes,
out to
now he
Variant. Yeah.
does.
Mhm.
But we had been trying to shoot forever, and I knew he was getting new wheels. I was like, I'm gonna hold out. Like, we're gonna shoot the new wheels. And we finally got it. And I knew before anything even happened that the cover shot, that side shot, whatever it is, like angle wise, I don't
Mhm.
know if you can tell, but it's very Keith Fletcher inspired.
Very much so.
That was
It's
the
got that, like, the little bit of a dip on the roller, if you
yep,
will. Yeah.
that was the I knew that was the shot. Like, that was what I had in mind. I was like, I need a side shot. I need to be able to see the calipers clearly. Like, this is just how this is going to go. Everything else is just going to fall into place. But the
Mhm.
goal was the rollers with this. And I have that spot that's like in that park kind of area. It's like 10 minutes in my backyard. And I was like, oh, orange, the bronze will kind of match up with the wheels. I think it did pretty well. But yeah, the main focus was definitely the rollers. And
Yeah.
here we are. So
You know,
that's one of my
but
favorite rollers, but there's still so many others.
mhm. Well, by the way, I want to go ahead and mention this really quickly because it kind of makes me sad that
Oh no.
I didn't know anybody at this point in time. So I recently moved over to the west side of Phoenix, where I'm at. I'm just in surprise for those of you who want to know, but I'm not going to tell you where else I live because that would be weird. But I live
Drop
out
the
here
Addy.
on the west side, right? Yeah, it's you don't need to go ahead and pull up on my house, yo. Unless I'm cool with you. You know, Lodgey's allowed over at my house. Kent's allowed over at my house. Anybody who I'm cool with coming over to my house, we're cool. But hilariously enough, I used to live like literally across the street from where Lodgey lives at right now on the east
Yep.
side.
Yep.
And Jake is out there on the east side, and he would have lived super close to me. Curb Your Enthusiasm would have lived
He
close
was
to
out there
me.
too. Yep.
And it makes me so mad that I moved after having
Now you're
started the
like an hour
podcast,
away from
and
me.
like I'm an hour away from all these dope people that I'm cool with, and then I'm like 45 minutes away from Scottsdale, and it's just like I love where I live. I do. I love my house. It's super dope, but it's very funny to me that I come to realize afterwards that after I leave, and then all of a sudden I see you guys post pictures, and I'm like,
I know
I
where that is.
recognize that neighborhood. I was like, oh, I know, because I lived there for 3 years. You guys are in my stomping grounds. And it's just so silly to go ahead and know that you guys live there. It would have been great because if we were, first of all, we would have done this in person, no problem. I would have just come
Oh,
over and
super easy.
bet it's done, and whatnot. But like, I mean, things happen for a reason. But it is very funny to go ahead and know that you have that. First of all, we have great car enthusiasts all over the city. You know,
Yes.
we focus. I feel like I make this podcast focus a lot on Scottsdale. And maybe, you know, I don't do it on purpose, but to be completely honest, Scottsdale happens to be, I think, the heart of Phoenix car culture in
I'd say
totality.
so.
You know, with 4 till 4, and then you have
Barrett
the Vault
Jackson.
shows. It's Barrett is over at Westworld, obviously, and then you've got your High Lines, even though that's technically North Phoenix, but it's basically Scottsdale.
We'll call it
Um,
Scottsdale.
we'll call it Scottsdale, and Otto does their stuff over in
Pavs,
Scottsdale.
the pavilions.
Everything, Pavs, and whatnot. But there are so much other stuff that happens all over the city, whether it's on the west side where I live, whether it's on the east side in the Mesa, Gilbert, Queen Creek area. Chandler's got a bunch of stuff out there. I mean, Tempe in and of itself, they have a lot of car shows out there too. And even though it's like right next to Scottsdale, Tempe still, it can be a ways away. And it's so interesting. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, me as the host of this podcast, I'm going to do my best to go ahead and include more of those parts of the city. I think it's my responsibility as a representative of the Phoenix metropolitan area. So anybody who's listening to this podcast that feels that I need to go ahead and start repping more of PHX, holler at me in the DMs. I'll be happy to do that because I think it's a responsibility, and I'm a responsible individual if you're picking up what I'm laying down. But I'm curious to know, man. We've talked a lot about your photography. We've talked a lot about your, you know, what you love about cars. So I'm going to ask you this, and I've asked this to a lot of people that have come on this podcast, Lodgey. I ask you, what does car culture mean to Brenden Lodge?
I say car culture is probably just being able to have a place to go when you don't have anywhere else to go, if that makes any sense. You have a family outside your family,
Mm-hmm.
which is why I love being a part of it in a way, is I get to meet a bunch of people who share similar interests, and I can go and go and talk to people about certain things, not have to bug my parents about it, and they don't have to listen to me ramble on about something that they don't
That's how I feel with my wife,
understand,
Lodgey. Yeah.
right? But yeah, you just have other people to, it's a second family. I mean, Dominic Toretto said it best, right? So that's where I'd stand with that, is it's just,
Yeah.
yeah.
I got you. You brought it up, so now I have to ask you, man. I take it that you watched the trailer of Fast 10.
I've seen it. I've seen the trailer pop up. I
Okay.
think it's gone a little too far, but
When did you think did he jump the shark? I'm curious to know.
Oh, it's been long ago. It's I don't even think I've seen like the past like 4 or 5 of
Oh, you
them.
haven't? Okay, all right.
No.
So, I mean, I talked about it on the last episode and whatnot. I'm not going to go ahead and bore anybody on it, but I was telling Ron that I feel like they jumped the shark in Fast Six, right?
Yeah.
Like to me, Fast Five is one of the greatest action movies ever made. Period. And let it be known right now, I'm trashing the franchise, but I adore it, and I
Oh,
will
it's
be
like it's
supporting it.
awesome. Yeah,
I'm
it's
gonna be
still
watching
super
Fast 10,
cool.
no problem, right? Like Furious 7, beyond everything that they've ever done, but it tugs at your heartstrings because of of P Dubs. May Pablo rest may he continue to rest in peace. Um, along with Roger Rodas, but Fate. Woof, they I was just like, where have we gone? Like, and
I mean,
then
I was watching the
F9,
trailer and you got a car jumping off a bridge, getting harpooned by a helicopter. It's
and
just like,
Fast
what?
Nine, yeah.
What is this? Like,
I do. That almost made me say I'm not watching F9, and then the pandemic made me wait a year plus, Lodgey, and I was like, all right, I'm
we're
back.
doing it.
I got sucked right back into it. And I was like, all right, I love this franchise. It's tattooed into my heart. I'll never let
Yeah.
it be. You know what I mean? But like, I watched the trailer to F10, man, and I'm like, wow. Like there was a couple of scenes in there where I think Dominic Toretto pulls with his charger two choppers and they crash together.
Yep.
And
That's
I
what I'm
was
talking about.
and
It's
I was
like,
talking to my boy Kingsley, Nick Kingsley. Shout out to Nick. I know he'll be listening. Nick, we're gonna go ahead and reset up. We're gonna reschedule your podcast soon, my friend. Don't worry. But he was like, yo, Jorge, I think that might have been the most realistic scene in that entire preview. And I was like, I hate to agree with you, but I think you might be right. Like, that's how crazy everything in that trailer was. Like, there was one scene where Michelle Rodriguez, I think she kind of like hops over like a pipe on her with her motorcycle and whatnot, where
okay,
she
I know
goes
what you're
ahead
talking
and
about.
like, yeah, she dips it and then like just kind of like moves over. I can't really describe it. Watch the trailer if you, then you'll know what I'm talking about, right? But like that actual sequence, that was actually kind of cool. But like I'm watching this trailer and I'm like, boy, howdy, have they outdone themselves this time? Am I going to watch this movie? Yes, of course I am. Am I going to enjoy it? I'm going to think it's the best thing of the year. But here's the key to being able to enjoy the Fast and the Furious franchise in the year 2023 when it comes to everything past Fast Five. You have to know what in the hell you have signed up for. You know, if you can recognize that, if your heart is
It's
set
so
into it,
crazy.
you will be able to enjoy it with absolutely no issues. And you will smile from ear to ear and tell Dominic Toretto, yeah, you're right. It is all about family. And you'll be fine.
Yep.
That's all you need to go ahead and do. Now, there was a conversation that I wanted to go ahead and have with you, Lodgey, and I'm curious now that we have the open format here, my friend. Um, I had Kent on a couple of episodes ago where he said that he believes that his Supra is the best camera car available, and whatnot. You recently had a 3 Series, and I know that you just got rid of it. We talked about that
I
at the
did.
top of the episode. We're not going to go ahead and say what's coming
That is a
because that
surprise.
is a surprise.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. I do know. I was made
You
aware
do
before the
know.
podcast started, and I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I'm looking forward to it.
Many
But
people don't.
yeah, and we're going to keep it that way until it's revealed. But I'm curious to know because you and I had while we were testing Zoom last night, we had a great conversation about how minivans make some of the best
They're so
roller
sick.
cars or support cars in total.
They're
So
so good.
tell the people why I agree with you, man.
I mean, just I think I've done a rally in a minivan already, so I can say that I've experienced that. And out of anything that I've done, it's just been the coolest thing because one, you have a minivan on a rally with cars that are tripled, quadruple, however much times money a minivan is, right? Trailing behind you and you're hanging out the back with the trunk open or the side door open. You don't got to worry about wind and you just got so much room. They're just sick. Like it's the perfect. You got people that take them on tracks and shoot $1 million cars. Like it's just, I mean,
That's what Camisa does.
yeah,
That's
it's
what
so
JC
sick.
Camisa does. Yeah.
It's so sick. I
It's
mean,
fantastic.
I've experimented with a bunch of roller cars. I've been in the back of trunk beds before. I've even pulled a Kent and used a Supra. We propped the back of the Supra up. I've done a majority of it, and I could safely say minivan has been the end all be all. If you need something for media, it's gonna be a minivan.
100%. Listen, Will Ferrell and John C. Riley said it best. There's so much room for activities.
So much.
Yeah. And here's the other thing. I don't think people realize how fast minivans have gotten.
No.
Like they mob. Like if you get like, I think the fastest minivan that you can, yeah, we're talking about minivans on Tormenting Tarmac. Y'all should know this. People shouldn't be surprised that I'm talking about minivans and stuff like that because of the car that I own. I own a Kia Sorento, which is not a minivan. It's an SUV, but my wife does own a minivan. And like when I drive that thing, Lodgey, I'm mobbing through the mean streets of Phoenix. Like I am just acting like a total hooligan and knowing that I'm not going to get pulled over because I'm in a freaking minivan. But
Yeah, you're just the average traffic.
I'm just average traffic. I'm just doing my thing. But what people don't seem to realize is how quick they are. You can get a Dodge Grand Caravan RT, and it's like pushing like high 200s, like a high 200 horsepower in a minivan, right? And then some of these vans are all-wheel drive, bro. They're not even front-wheel drive.
Yeah, they get up.
Yeah, they get up and go. Like my van's probably pushing like 265.
I got it right here. I just looked it up. A Kia Carnival, 290 horsepower.
Yo, that boogies, dude. That boogies. That's as fast as your old 330 that you just got rid of.
Yeah.
That's insane. 330 or 335?
335.
335.
It was a little faster than that.
It was a little faster, but I'm sure. Well, you're right. Yours was tuned. I should have said a stock 335.
There you go. There you go.
A stock 335 made like very low 300s. And by the way, they were,
I think it was 300 on the dot.
300 on the dot. And that's a quick car. I don't think people realize how quick a 335i is actually. People talk about, oh no, it's an M3. I don't know.
We're talking about the E90s though, the E9X generation, not the new ones.
Not the new one. Obviously, 340s
the good generation.
Right. 340s, they look terrible. They had bad dental surgery, but they do mob. And that's ridiculous. In particular, the 340 with all-wheel drive. But as you said, a Kia Carnival, 290 horsepower. Like,
that's crazy.
Fuck, man. That's fast.
That's more than really my first car. I had a F30 328, and that thing had, I think, 240. It was a minivan that goes faster than that. Like
my Z32, my old Z32, which was a non-twin turbo, made 225 horsepower in 1994.
That's a lot.
It was, but it was also like a 3,500-pound car.
Oh, there you go.
And I also had the 4-speed automatic because I was dumb and when I was 19. But I still love that car.
Fair.
But yeah, no, the twin turbos were fast though. There was a 300 horsepower twin turbo V6. Yeah, those things boogie. But anyways, that being said, if anybody's looking for a good roller car, get yourself a minivan. Yeah.
All the way.
Yeah. Or you know what?
I considered getting a minivan for my next car. And I can tell that my girlfriend behind me is laughing at me. I don't even
shout out to Lodgey's girlfriend because I did see her. I saw her pop in about 5 minutes ago. I didn't want to say anything. We knew that she was going to pop in, and
she was here a while ago.
Was she really?
Okay. She's knocked out. She's knocked out right now.
Now she's not even going to know that we talked about her.
No, let's hope she listens. I'll put her on. She walked in the door and I knew she was coming, but I didn't see her and I got scared. But yeah, I was making jokes because I was like, the idea with the new car was to have something for media, have something different, and I want to slam it eventually. And I was like, what better thing than a minivan? Right. So
I got you.
Minivan is not the car for anybody wondering.
No, it is not, unfortunately. But hope maybe in the future. Maybe in the future it can be a future car. Yeah, it would be great.
There we go.
In particular because that leads me to my next question, Lodgey, because you are focusing on your photography and whatnot, but can you ever see, basically I'm curious to know because you named it Lodgey Media, not Lodgey Photography, right? So where do you see Lodgey Media moving towards in the next 5 to 10 years? Like, what do you expect out of it? What do you want from it?
I mean, the ultimate goal, and I've always told my mom this, is I want to be shooting media for a name brand, whether it be BMW's like campaign ads or something like that. That's the ultimate goal for my photography. But wherever it just kind of blows, I mean, I've kind of already started going into the world of portraits. That's actually how I started photography, even before I did graphic design and stuff like that, as I did a
I got you.
project
See,
in COVID.
before the two, so 2 years ago, you started car photography, but how long have you been doing
Correct.
photography in total?
It was probably like another year before that. It's
Oh,
still
okay.
not, yeah, it's
Man,
all, yeah, it's still relatively new to me.
you're a natural talent, man. For it to
Thank
only be
you.
3 years, bro, that's really impressive.
But yeah, you'd mentioned where it goes, and I've done portraits. I did a project in COVID called Portraits, like where I would go to a family's house during COVID and take family pictures of them while they were on their porch from really far away so that
Oh,
they
that's
could be
cool.
together. Portraits, get it?
I
Yeah.
get, I,
Uh,
I,
it-
I vibe with that. I love that
yeah, so
idea. That's
that
very
was the
cool.
whole idea with it, and I would do it on like Easter and stuff like that. And then, like I said, it just turned into cars eventually. But I don't know, it's kind of wherever it goes. I've just recently did a senior portrait set that I'll probably post here soon because it has a truck in it, so I could still post people, but still
Still
keep the
car
car fleet.
related. Absolutely.
Exactly. I mean, I've dabbled in the world with models and stuff like that, but
Hmm.
it just depends, obviously, where the wind blows.
I
We'll
gotcha.
find out in 5 to 10 years, I guess.
That's totally fair, man. And to be quite honest, Lodgey and I know some stuff that's behind the scenes and whatnot that we're not going to go ahead and talk about. We're really excited about, but
Yes.
there's definitely some stuff coming that hopefully comes to fruition and whatnot. But man, it's such a you're such a refreshing guy, man. Usually it's very unusual for someone to go ahead and match my energy and be able to match my enthusiasm for stuff. But this car community has shown me that there are a lot of people out there who share my enthusiasm like really intensely, and Lodgey is no different. So Lodgey, I appreciate you coming on and vibing with me tonight. We knew that we were really excited to be able to finally do
Oh,
something like this
100%.
and whatnot. So as we start to go ahead and wrap up, man, do you have a message that you want to go ahead and send out to maybe the Phoenix car community or just the car community in general, where like some positivity of that can come from what I believe you say as a wannabe photographer? Is that what you have on your
Yeah,
Instagram
that
page?
is my bio, isn't it?
Yeah,
Wannabe photography kid.
wannabe photography kid. Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know. It's just all about, to me, just having fun. Like a while ago, my prices had like funny names on it, and I think one of my pricing was like $69. Like it was just there to be like funny and like be there and like just vibe with people. So I
Yeah.
guess my message would just be, don't like take everything like with a grain of sand or whatever it is, and just have fun with it. Like it's just everybody's gonna be your friend. Like don't take anything up the butt or whatever it is. Just have fun, live in the moment, and don't take things too seriously. Is probably what would be my message for that.
Love that, dude. Um, Lodgey, you to me are a shining star in our community, man. So keep up the excellent work. And I appreciate you paying it forward to me. And as I've stated to you, I'm going to continue to pay it forward on my end. And thank you so much for being such a staunch supporter of what I'm trying to go ahead and do on Tormenting Tarmac. It does not go unnoticed. And I appreciate you, dude. I really, really do. I believe we came up with a nickname for me. Now I'm completely forgetting it. Maybe because
Papa is
that's right.
Papa something.
Papa Tarmac. Papa Tarmac.
There
That's what
it
it is.
is.
Which I will take to the grave with me, and I do appreciate that. If you want to go ahead and check out Brenden's stuff, please go on to Instagram and go check out and go follow at Lodgey.media, right? Lodgey.media.
Yes, that's correct.
Um, you will go ahead and see all his phenomenal sets of the R8 that we spoke of the ZL1, of throttled outs 930 and their 992, the sick Lexus IS, more stuff coming from that Cali trip, of course.
Lots of it.
The Thunderbird, the very cool SLC that he went ahead and shot over at Concours in the Hills, and just more. There's just there's such a wide variety on his page of the different cars cars in general. I mean, an R8, a ZL1, a Lexus IS, a Thunderbird from the 60s, an 80s big body Benz. You know,
You
it's
never
just
know what it's gonna be.
and then a Stance Corolla is coming up soon. You
Yep.
know, and it's just like it's just that's what Lodgey is. Like Lodgey is just excellence in one person. So thank you so much, my dude. And for those of you listening, thank you so much for having listened. Please go ahead and give us a follow at Tormenting Tarmac on Instagram, and you can go ahead and listen to all these episodes. They're streaming now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, the Anchor app. And if you wouldn't mind rating our podcast and sharing it, that would be greatly appreciated. And we appreciate you supporting the Instagram account too. The Instagram is growing, Lodgey. It's growing little
Totally.
by little by little, bro. And
Hey,
I'm so
it's
happy
still
for it.
progress. Still
I'm trying to go
progress.
ahead and get onto your level, my man. Actually, let's go ahead and get Lodgey up to 4K. Lodgey's so close to 4K. I can
I
feel
want to
it.
get the goal is 5K by my birthday in March. That's what we're going for.
We're going. Let's get him to 5K by March, people. By the time that this drops, that'll probably be towards the end of May or towards the end of
Hey,
February. Excuse me.
super far.
Yeah, that's right. No, this is going to be by the end of February that this episode is dropping. But let's make it happen that Logi can hit 5,000 followers in March. That would be greatly appreciated. And then that'll be a fantastic birthday present for my
That
guy. And
would.
not to mention, we're looking forward to Logi's new car that's coming in soon. That's going to be the
It's
perfect
gonna be,
camera
yeah, it's
car.
gonna be something. We're gonna keep it under wraps though. We're gonna,
Yeah,
unless you see me out and about, you won't know it's me. That's the
exactly.
plan until it's built, and then it's gonna show out somewhere. Not gonna say
Yeah.
where, but it'll be
My man's
cool.
just going to be so basically Lodge is going to be rolling up in his mom's car for the foreseeable future.
No, I'll still take it out. I'll take it out.
You gonna take it out? Okay, cool.
I'll
I
take
love
it
it.
out. You'll
Even
see me
better.
on shoots. If you book a
You
shoot
see
with
me
me,
on
you'll see it.
yes,
That
okay. If you want that,
that's the new catch is you got to book a
that's the
shoot
new
to see
cat.
it.
Exactly.
There
If
it
you want to
is.
go ahead and see Brendan's new car, book a shoot with him, make it happen. Give that man your money, and he will give you magic.
Oh, it's
That's
not all
he.
about just getting money. It's about
Of
having good
course,
times and good vibes.
good times, good vibes,
The
great
pictures are the
collaborations.
byproduct of having good times.
Absolutely. Exactly. Well, he is Mr. Don't Miss. That's Brenden Lodge. And I appreciate you, my guy. Thank you so much for
Yeah,
coming
thank
back
you.
on. And everybody, thank you so much. Again, please check out at Tormenting Tyrant on Instagram. And you can go ahead and find Lodgey at Lodgey.media on Instagram as well. And this has been episode number 32. And then we've got a few more guests coming to you as we wrap up February and get into March. Higher Solomon from Higher Quality Detail is coming up very, very soon. Everybody loves that RS6, bro. I am one of those people that also adores it. It's absolute fire. KRC coming up very, very soon. And just a few more people, but just kind of wanted to go ahead and give out the hype up of what's coming. And plus, as we teased it last week, myself and Ron, we've got a new series coming to Tormenting Tarmac. It's going to be Engineering Enigmas. And we're going to be talking about random ass race cars that people have never heard of that we need to go ahead and school them on, Lodgey. So we're going to be doing that too, man.
I'll be here for it.
Fantastic. Well, I appreciate you again. That's been Brenden Lodge on Tormenting Tarmac. My name is Jorge Aquino, and this is the podcast where the enthusiast never dies. Have a great night, everybody.